while we're recording. Everybody in here? There is another person. Dinoga, what's happening? You're no video, no sound. There you are. Hey, how's it going?
Not too bad. I hate Internet Explorer.
We all have our pains.
But Blue Jeans doesn't work with Chrome 64.
I'm using it on Chrome 64 right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. On a little Surface 2.
Well,
let me make sure it is 64. Hold on. About Google Chrome.
Hey, they fixed it. Hot damn.
Yeah, it doesn't say either.
I'll be right back.
All right. That was quick.
It's not hard.
Yeah. Oh, you already had it loaded. You just weren't using it.
Yeah, I mean, I had Chrome. I just copied the link.
I didn't look. What's on the agenda? Where's the agenda? Did they post an agenda for this week?
I don't know that there is like a proper agenda.
Megan was trying to do that so we'd stay on topic.
That's a nice theory.
Yeah,
Hey.
April.
How are you?
Pretty good. Let me turn around so you can see me. Very nice to meet you. I'm Todd.
Pleasure to meet you. Wait, what is your name on the community? Sorry, it's still taking me a while.
The T-Wack.
Oh, okay. Pleasure to meet you.
There we go. 1, 2, 3. Be ready. I'm not pretty. There we go.
You're so pretty.
Oh, you should see how I smell after a day of work, too. That's great.
Well,
I think we're all the same on that.
Yeah. But I have a little libation, but at least I don't care anymore. April, it's just great to see you come aboard.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I love your interactions in the community already. I really like how you just jab in there and you get going.
Well, thank you. I'm still kind of learning, as you guys can tell, and but you guys are a very awesome community, and you guys have embraced me already. So
we'll
try
be
to be pretty friendly.
Yeah, we'll be forgiving to you, but we're not very nice to each other sometimes, huh? It's amazing how some of the opinions get flying, and it's like, whoa.
Well, that's the internet for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say I actually just joined the community the same day I actually got brought into SmartThings. So it's been a joyride so far, to say the least.
And you've only just begun.
And you guys have brought quite the agenda for me to talk about this time around.
I was just looking. What is the agenda today? Where is it posted somewhere?
Not yet. I'm about to post it right now, actually.
Okay.
But I figured we're a little bit early.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. So, just between us, I know that we normally have about 25 people or so that come to this meeting.
Mm-hmm.
My goal is to have it at 30 by the end of this month. So you should invite all your friends and family and everyone else, mostly developers, because everyone else can't really participate as much.
Well, it's an interesting, at least. Dinah, what is your first name?
April.
No.
Oh wait, no, you're talking about Dinah.
Yeah.
It's Brian.
Brian, that's right. Brian, maybe you can tell me if I'm wrong or not, but I think we're probably about 30% developers on the call, and the rest are like users that want different functionalities.
It's hard to tell.
Yeah.
There's only about 4 people that actually talk. Other people will chat a little bit. But usually we just have a couple of the big voices, even on the community site.
Yeah.
Well, kind of want to start like a monthly theme thing where we create apps depending on what people actually want and solutions, and we can all kind of pitch in together and help each other out on stuff like that. I think it'll be fun, and I think that was something Josh might have been mentioning. Let me check my.
That was one of the things that I think a few of us, Jody, yeah, one of the things that a few of us have kind of asked for when Ben was kind of the moderator for a long time, and is that we kind of separate development from enhancement request hours, those kind of things.
Yeah. I mean, Ben has a lot in his plate. I think that's, the primary reason why I'm actually here is because he wanted someone to dedicate, for the community, because he likes, he believes strongly in the community. And, the fact that I can help you guys and kind of be that voice for you guys too is awesome. It's awesome. But yeah, we're actually looking into that right now. I was just talking to him earlier today about potentially doing that, or having a once a month thing. If you guys were interested, I'd be happy to facilitate that too. So
sounds good to me.
And I'm sorry if you hear some screaming in the back. I don't have a kid, but I do have a bird, and he likes to scream for attention. So
we ought to put him behind you where we can watch him, or he could watch us.
He'll actually talk back too, so I prefer not.
Okay.
He's really mouthy.
He doesn't cuss, does he?
No, he doesn't. But he likes to yeah, he talks back, and especially if he sees a girl, he'll say, "Come here, baby," and he's a literal wingman. So it's kind of cute, right. Actually.
Hey, Judy. There we go. As he adjusts the set. Need to powder your nose, Jody. A little shiny.
Hey, Todd, what's up?
Not much. How are you? Hey, Mike.
Hey, what's up?
Just waiting for everybody to climb aboard.
That's because I'm a shiny, happy people, Todd.
You know what? So am I. It's a great day, isn't it? Hey, Jody, did you guys ever get hooked up to look at those light issues?
Yeah, they called or sent me an email when it had started working again, and there was nothing to look at. Had an issue right before the meeting where motion detectors did not kick off in the kitchen. So
it's the motion detectors that are failing, or the lights not coming on, or the 500 error? Which, now I'm confused.
All of it. Like you can walk into a room that has TCP. The only lights that aren't firing based on motion events are TCP lights. Like my Z-Wave switches never have a problem. They don't turn off either, which is the weird part. It's just like they just stop listening for events.
You know what?
And I get the 500 error also.
I think you got the cat TCP lights. Cats don't listen to you. If you got the dog ones, dogs will follow you, and they're like making you happy. I don't know. That's so weird. How come you're seeing it and a lot of other people aren't?
I started having problems with Hughes about a day and a half ago.
Oh, really?
Yep. They come on, but they don't go off.
Like the Ever-Ready Bunny.
Yep.
I think April, did we did some core roll out earlier this week?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a few things that happened. I think Philips Hughes actually had their own software updates and such. And then we also did a few upgrades.
The double moving target. Hey, Ben.
Hey there. I'm going to be on just audio for a few minutes until I get home.
Okay.
I think April and Major are going to be able to run with it for the first couple minutes.
All right. Well,
Pressure.
thanks for having me in the community.
Every time you start smoking in your room with that thick little cigarette of yours, I have to go out and have a real one.
And it tortures me as a former smoker too.
Oh.
I used to just turn my camera off and go smoke. That's why I would disappear. But since I got that thing, I can do it wherever I want to.
I can smoke vicariously through both of you. So
You guys.
I don't know if you noticed, but it's also, this is also like a geek thing. My e-cigarette keeps getting bigger and bigger every week.
Okay. Yeah, you guys notice when you see my outside in my yard, you kind of can figure out what I'm doing then. You guys are bad.
You have helicopters that fly over your house?
Only when I wear the tin hat.
Right.
The plastic hat, they don't come.
All right, so I'm just going to start for a little bit. Just a few updates. As you guys saw, we had a security patch recently that we talked about on the forums, or sorry, on the community. We also did a few updates with iOS and Android. In addition, we actually have, well, I mean, for that, I guess it's pretty self-explanatory, right? Like we created some patches where you'll be able to, or you can't skip download for the updates. So everyone has the same update wherever you are, which is pretty awesome.
Who's making that racket?
That wasn't me, was it?
No.
Cool. And then also, I wanted to talk to you guys about Hackster.io. We actually have a SmartThings portion of it now. Sorry, I kind of hear an echo.
Yeah, someone's got to mute.
Awesome. And I really encourage you guys to submit your projects and ideas there at Hackster.io. I really want to see some of your stuff. As you know, I just joined the community, but I've been seeing so many really cool, awesome projects that you guys are working on. Many of them that are like above my like, but they're really cool. And I could see, you know, there's a lot of ones where people can actually benefit from them. So I really encourage you guys to go to hackster.io/marketing. Major actually just, or Major has a project there too, and it's kind of cool to see like the step-by-steps and everything on there.
Yeah, so we chatted with the Hackster.io people. Ben and I met with the founders, and they built a special importer from our community site, so using Discourse. So if you guys have published projects on our community site, all you do is like paste the URL, and then it shows up on Hackster. So we're going to try to build a gallery of hacks.
Now, if you've updated your project, it doesn't take subsequent posts into effect, so you'll have to like bring those in more manually, but it's cool for the first post.
So what'd you put up there, Major?
I just stole Gilbert's project, the Arduino, the clapper.
Oh, yeah.
So just go to hackster.io/smartthings, and you'll see it. There's like 3 projects there now.
we're massively hiring. So if you guys were interested, please think of SmartThings. We actually have a job posting in our website and also different places. But feel free to reach out to Ben and I and Major, and we'd love to take a look and see how we could fit you guys in our organization. I like how Major just made it really big for the text to say we are massively hiring. Yeah. Ben or Major, do you guys have any updates?
Yeah, I can go first. So I'm actually in a hotel room right now in New York City. I flew in today. There's an accelerator program here with Techstars and RGA called the Connected Devices Accelerator. Ben and I flew out here about 2 months ago. We talked to a bunch of these companies. One of them is a smart lock called Latch. So I'm excited to talk to them and just kind of excited to see what people have built over the last 3 months. We're also doing a meetup here in New York. We have 25 RSVPs, so if you guys are in New York City, come by. We're still working on smart app submissions. There are a lot of them. A few of them were moved to QA this week, and a few of them have been into code review. We released 4 last week, and we hope to release another 5 this week. Jim and I are working on the developer portal. We spent the last weekend in Michigan at the University of Michigan Makeathon. It was about 200 students. We just posted about it on our blog. It was pretty fun. Met a lot of kids building cool stuff. So yeah, we're working on the developer portal. That's kind of our big project right now. We're going to make it way better. Today we moved the Arduino docs from our support pages to the actual developer site. We have a bunch of events coming up. Next weekend in Palo Alto is a big hackathon, 500 students. It's called Tree Hacks. So if you guys are in the Bay Area and you want to come by, let us know. We're going to be there. And our event schedule is posted on the developer site now. And we're trying to do as many events as possible. April is going to help us out with that, which is awesome. Yeah, that's kind of my main update.
On the events front, we're definitely looking at what types of events we want to focus on in the coming months. We've been going to a lot of hackathons. A lot of those are student-based. But that's not the only thing we're looking for. So if you guys have events you think we should be at, you should definitely tell us about them, because we don't see every event.
Are you walking up the hill right now?
Yeah, I'm at the top now, so it's all downhill from here.
Ben made it home quicker than I did.
Wow. Is that safe, Gilbert?
It totally is.
Oh, we could see Gilbert while he's driving.
Yeah.
Oh, be careful. You want to give us an update on products?
Yeah, so we're working on, it's not going to change that much from the last update I did, which was that we demoed a few products at CES, and over the next coming weeks and months, we're really going to be focusing to deliver on those, what I call CES promises. I don't really have any substantial updates for you for now, and probably for the next few weeks. These are kind of larger projects, Hub V2 with all our new hardware, premium services with what we coin incident management, which is likely to change, and also our video service. So we're working aggressively on those targets for the time being. I'm also working with a lot of partners as well too to bring better integrations. I'm under NDA, so I can't really speak to those exactly, but a lot of those are integrations that we currently support right now that I'm looking to improve both reliability and the use cases for. And then a few of those are outside of what we have. And I'm particularly interested in seeing new capabilities out of devices arise. So things that we don't currently support or don't already have in some other form. So I'm working on those as well. Hopefully, we'll get to disclose those to you earlier rather than later. I guess the one update I do have is that we're also working on our certification process. I don't know if Tyler Lang is on this call right now, but Tyler, which most of you have maybe probably seen on the forums, he's previously was part of our support organization, and he's moved to device certification. So he's going to be really helping out on really going through all the submissions that the community has posted, but also some of our third-party integrations that we work closely with our partners to do. And I think the one interesting thing is that we're going to be also doing a beta program. So for device types that we're working closely on offering, we'll kind of allow the community to test those out beforehand, so that we can really make sure that when it goes out in the wild that it's really solid. I don't have a list right now of devices that are going to be part of those beta program in the coming weeks, but as they progress, we'll either post it on the community forums or reach out to people that are interested in participating in that. I don't know of what the selection process is just yet, but we won't have that many devices to kind of hand off for people to start using. So we'll have to really be very selective on those, and there'll be some key folks, some lucky folks that will be able to test those early devices out. And some other devices may be available for purchase, and we'll just write the device types for. So we'll see how it goes. But I'm excited to see. Yeah, go ahead.
The selection criteria is if you're on April's good list.
Oh, you guys better be good on the forums.
No, that doesn't mean non-critical. It just means that you're active and awesome.
Yeah.
April, your bird is really cute.
Oh, thank you.
Uh-oh.
Send me a device.
Why don't we get you everywhere?
Send me a device, damn it.
And honestly, if you guys are definitely interested and you're like, okay, April, you haven't reached out to me, feel free to, give me a private message or email me, and I will, I'll try and send you guys some stuff to beta test. So.
Yeah. She'll bug Lang for some swag.
Yeah. Oh, and speaking of swag, I know the t-shirt contest has ended. We're going to be announcing winners very soon. I'm really excited that I'm going to be sending t-shirts out to people. So, yeah. If you have a good story to tell of how you use SmartThings integration to your house and stuff, I'd love to send you guys a t-shirt so you guys can sport that. I don't think I'm going to send you one, Gary. I broke SmartThings. Jim, can you give us an update?
Yeah, I think Major covered a lot of it. This past weekend, went to a makeathon at the University of Michigan, which was my first experience at one of those events. And it was really cool to watch people dive in with SmartThings, especially, and go from, wow, this is really cool, and look what I could do, to like almost like a wall, right? Like, okay, now what? From a learning perspective. And like Major said, we've been thinking a lot about how to make our learning experience and documentation better in the big picture, not just filling in what we have. And then, as we look for an announcement later this week on the forums about the platform update rolling out, as well as some documentation updates too.
Awesome. Let's see. Is anyone from engineering here?
I think we're going to have, I know at least one engineering representative join, but he said he might be about 15 or about 30 minutes late.
Matt's
Yeah,
here.
Spencer will be here too.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm here too. This is Matt Knorr. I'm here.
Oh, hey, Matt. Do you have any updates for us?
Just what you're
Not
working on.
really. We're hopefully we're going to be doing another platform release this week, and so we'll be getting release notes out and everything like we have been the last couple. Mostly still focusing on some stability and performance issues. That's been our main focus these last few weeks, and we're going to continue to focus on those topics as we go forward. But that's about it from my side.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I think we're going to start with some community questions. I know you guys have lots of questions for us. So I know Gary said a follow-up on the last call, expanding capabilities, mechanism for device types to inform users of critical alerts.
I don't know much about I can't remember what was asked explicitly there. I know we're working on an initiative that's all focused on device health, and I think there'll be some really interesting things that come out of that. But there's a core team working all about device health, how to surface that, how to make sure that when your device maybe like one light switch just falls off the network, the first time you see that is not like when it doesn't work, that you get notified when it's unhealthy. Perhaps even some sort of health dashboard for your devices that you can access somewhere. So we think that's going to be a big, very cool thing. But it's probably not what Gary was interested in. So.
No, I was trying to follow up. Two things in particular were brought up in the last meeting. One was how can we expand to new capabilities? And the other one was, and this is something I'm personally interested in, I have a device type that has an alarm. The device type has no way to convey a critical alert to the mobile app without using all kinds of specialty stuff and a special smart app that goes with just that the device and so on. And we were looking to see if there was something that can be done similar to how battery can send an alert to the user just by setting a create event battery 1. Okay, instant alert. Well, door locks have burglar alarms. Garage doors has a I'm crushing a human skull alarm. Things like that really should be conveyed to the mobile apps.
Yeah, Gary, I think we talked about this last time, and I think the position was that the device types are not going to manage any logic on when something happens, you should do this. It's going to be driven by the smart app. And even, for instance, the battery alert thing, that is a smart app that's driving that. So if your battery is if your battery is 1%, there's a battery smart app that may be already pre-configured on there. But when you pair that device and it shows 1% battery, it's a smart app that's sending a push notification to your phone saying, "Oh, you're low on battery."
Exactly, Gilbert. That's exactly what I'm talking about. The battery, it's a built-in smart app. It's part of the mobile app. It's not something that a user has to add this or to add that. What we're trying to find out is if there's some way that another mobile app or another smart app can be built into the mobile app, similar to battery, that gives a mechanism for device types to alert the user to truly critical things.
Yeah, and that would depend on whether or not there's standards across these things. Battery is a very simple thing that if your battery falls below 1% or a certain percent, that device is no longer going to function at all. But it's harder to make a general rule for all device types. For instance, your CO2 sensor or your smoke sensor, it's the most logical thing for you to do is to send some type of notification or something, but users may want to perform different things in different scenarios. So, and I don't know whether or not we can generalize in such a way.
Gilbert, so I didn't mean to interrupt. Remember, we did talk about the idea of the way battery is handled is through capability.battery. That's why it was very easy to implement that in the mobile app. It was a capability that's not absolutely universal because a lot of objects that are plugged in, like a smart outlet, doesn't have a battery. But the same thing, if we provide a near global, a very common capability that possibly doesn't even exist in the Zigbee or Z-Wave clusters, but we call it something like capability.urgent alert, we now have given the platform a way of implementing what Gary's talking about and what I'm interested in.
Yeah, I'd be interested in seeing how much of this can be used across other devices. One thing that I can think of is maybe capability.tamper, because there are a lot of sensors, especially motion sensors and door sensors, that if you remove the lid, that will have a tamper sensor on there, and that may yield for us to do a push notification. But we have to be able
that's a great way to, right, that's a great example and something that's common between many devices, if not all of them, or many devices. But so what kind of bugged me is that the whole discussion of capabilities and a process for adding capabilities dropped off the map over the last 2 weeks, which is okay, you guys have been busy, but we didn't get a hint that of what the answer might be or whether we were heard on that particular topic.
Yeah, I think that the open topic is, and Ben, maybe you can chime in on this, is how do we surface the conversation of new capabilities onto our platform? And I think we may have to pull in others from the platform team that has been the drivers for new capability in the past. I think Bob is one of those. But I think one of the suggestions that Terry and I were talking about was maybe a subcategory within device types or devices that will be an open conversation on specific capabilities that we may want to drive in.
I mean, for now, there's no reason we have to wait for a formal tool to be put in place. We do want to make the ability to suggest capabilities something that's super easy. Either it's built in through the developer tools or it's part of a separate site that people can look at and upvote them. We can't allow the ad hoc addition of capabilities for the reasons that Gilbert has described before.
But Ben, I think that's what he's asking for is a method of standardization, because we're all coming up with our own ideas when we first try it. But
well, and that's exactly the reason why we have to kind of control that aspect, because everyone's going to look at these capabilities slightly differently. We have to be the standardization board, for lack of anyone else doing it. And so, we want to take the suggestions. We want to see like, oh, look, we really need a pressure sense capability type. Let's prioritize that and get it in the next month. We just don't have that right now. We have some people have an idea of some capabilities that we want to add, but they just don't, rise up to the top of the sprint planning. And we need a mechanism to make that happen. Look, there's 100 people on the forums that just requested this in the last 2 weeks. That will be a driving factor to getting it up the priority board.
Yeah, I am interested in opening that topic up to the community, because there are some more complicated capabilities. One of those is capability that schedule, possibly, of how you may want to configure schedules on possibly a thermostat or irrigation controller or things like that stuff, that it would be great to have input from you guys out there, that basically more people kind of driving the conversation rather than thinking of it ourselves. There are some.
It's a great idea, Gilbert. The reason I'm interrupting is there's a lot of clutter on the forum, right? Some topics are getting a lot of attention, and some seem to be getting less attention. And this one is, I'm glad to hear, it's got a high priority and got a lot of interest. If we created a new subcategory under device ideas or under smart app ideas, one of those subcategories, is that a lot of overhead on the forum software to create a subcategory where the sole purpose of that is suggest a capability, and then within each topic, there'll be some discussion among the community members as to what the capability should be named, what its attributes should be, what its command should be, and so on?
No, that's not a difficult thing. It should be done. April and Lang Tyler have been doing a great job of sort of pruning some of the older forum threads as well, just sort of archiving them or unpinning them. So we're hoping to kind of still keep the things that are most current up at the top, but it's no difficulty in creating a subtopic. Just picking where it goes is probably what we want. Probably a subcategory under devices and integrations, just where it's capabilities, and then just try to keep it. I mean, the problem with this forum software, ironically, because it's from the same people who do Stack Overflow, is that there's not a good way of like voting for the best answer or like upvoting things. It's a highly requested feature, but I just don't know if it's coming in to this tool. So we're going to have to try to do it like how we do with the devices, which is to say, in the suggested device ideas forum, I read that every day. People still suggest things every day, but there's not really anyone going through it right now and aggregating like, all right, that's the 50th suggestion for Cree bulb or whatever it is. Let's get that going. And so we really need to have someone doing that. And so, hi, April.
And I think, Ben, the difference maybe here is that unlike just ask for new devices, the difference is that capabilities will require some more focused discussion between different people that are interested in the topic. So it may end up being a thread, and right now the forums don't have nested topics. So I think that's why Terry was
right. So that's without nested topics and without tags, the best choice we have in the forums are categories. So I'm glad to hear that, Ben. And we have to live with what we've got, which means that if we do get a 300 response discussion on capability.sound level, that's fine, right? It's still it's going to be at least under the capabilities category, and it'll all be under one topic. And someone will be able to say, okay, good, I heard the discussion. Let's close it. We'll open a new one with a summary, and now let's take a vote on what were the controversial issues.
I mean, you can have under a category, you can have multiple posts. So, I mean, if we establish that, for each capability request is a new topic.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I'm asking, what I'm suggesting. So somebody's going to say we need capability at sound level. Hopefully people will stay on topic and discuss what it should be called, what its attributes should be, what its commands should be, what some sample devices might be, in order to refine capability.sound level. And then if it looks like somebody's starting to talk about capability sound something else, speaker broken, then that hopefully somebody will spin that off into a new topic so that there's less, it's not tainted.
Yeah, I'm not afraid of our community members voicing that topic is to be elsewhere. You guys are great moderators.
Great. So I said that we start with a category, we're going to be bound to fill it. Absolutely.
Oh, sorry. Daryl, sorry. Didn't realize I was unmuted. Yeah, and thank you guys for that. I will look into creating some subcategories on that and seeing what's the best way to do it without making it cluttered.
I already got it.
Oh, awesome. Is there an app overhaul on the horizon? Asked Daryl.
Yes, just depends on how long your horizon is spanning. We are going to be making some incremental changes in the coming weeks, not weeks, more months. But I think before the end of the year, there's going to be possibly a revamp similar to when we went from things to the dashboard view. I know that a lot of people internally has been asking for a refresh for some time, and we've kind of redone our product and design organization to lend itself to this change. So yes, it is, but not in the coming weeks.
Okay. And then Daryl also asked, when is the Samsung TV app going to be released?
I'm not sure which one you're referring to.
like just a client app for a Samsung TV? Well,
I think so. That was actually.
I know that they're working on it. It's a team separate from our own internal SmartThings team, and I would bet that it will come out on Tizen TVs first, which means to say the TVs that are going to be released in the middle of this year. I think that there's an idea that we'll have a SmartThings client that can roll back to TVs several years old, and there's a smart app that I think Juan just created that allowed, or maybe it was a SmartThings or a TV device type that we're testing now that'll allow your Samsung TV to be a thing within your universe. Someone's not on mute. That's April.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Juan's device type, I think the one that he was playing around with was to do controls on, I think, 2014, 2013 smart TVs. But if you're asking about what I envision as a true client app where you can do Hello Home and maybe turning lights on and off through your TV, that's going to be probably on the next generation ones. And I would tell you, don't expect to do everything that your mobile app can do on your TV. One, that's a terrible, terrible experience. I don't know if you want to do device configuration in front of your TV. It's not a good experience.
Lenny wants to understand the SD implementation of UPnP, eventing, and how notifying are routed to the device types.
Is he on the call?
Yes, I'm here.
Man, I was hoping you weren't. No, because we just don't have the right people to talk about that, I don't believe. Partly because they're on a plane right now. Three of the people that can talk to that are on different planes.
So is there plans to beef up the documentation in this area in the short term? Would be my first question. Because it's non-existent might be the best word.
Well, I mean, it's a feature that, we didn't expect to be, as popular as it seems to be, and people want it. And so, I think out of the gate, we were not prepared for that. But I don't know if it's something that, Jim, you're prioritizing and looking at or talking with the right people.
Ben, can I ask a question? Can you explain better what that topic is? Sorry, I missed the first part of it.
So I'll help here. So when you create a LAN connected device, if you try to control that device through get some puts, posts, whatever, then everything works just fine. On the other side, when the device has an event and it tries to notify back into the system that something at the device has occurred, a change of state, for example, then lots of folks are having issues trying to get that working today.
So you're talking about connecting to a LAN device that has no way of doing pub sub or pub nub?
No, right? I'm talking about connecting to a LAN device that supports the UPnP spec. So eventing is a required aspect of the UPnP.
Is the methodology laid out? They have to respond in a certain way?
You have a lot of the capabilities there. The subscription support is there. Mm-hmm. So when you issue a subscription, basically that's the subscription ID that the device is supposed to use for sending the unicast notifies. So they're not msearch multicast notifies, they're unicast notifies. So they're different in that aspect too. But anyhow, when a device detects a state change, it sends one of these notifies with a subscription ID, which needs to get routed to the device type.
I see. So it is different. It is a bit different then. Okay.
Yeah, and for example, Sonos and Wemo do that, but it's not well documented, and I'm not sure it's compliant to the spec.
I can throw my 2 cents in too. It appears to me that UPnP implementation with SmartThings was simply just for device discovery. That's about the only functional aspect of it that seems to be compliant. Everything else just kind of is placeholders, in my opinion.
I'm sorry, was that a ST individual or a?
No, that's just me as a community member.
Okay, sorry, I just couldn't tell who was speaking.
This is Jim, and there's a question about documentation and priority. So I actually recently just started dabbling my fingertip in this, related to a post or contact somebody had around using the hub action class for communicating in LAN connected devices.
Mm-hmm.
And we had some very little documentation. Some of it was not complete, and it may have not been all correct. And so I updated that a little bit, but we know that there's a lot more to do, and there's a lot more in that space, and it is very, very detailed. And where it fits in the whole documentation prioritization is that I don't think that we're going to document that end to end completely as like the first order of business this week. But
sure,
if there are specific areas around it, especially that we can spend a day on to make it a lot better quickly, we should work those into our priority.
I think the subscription area is one of those. Let me give you for instance. If you go to the online documentation, it talks about the mappings, which don't even work anymore. I mean, that stuff's not even there anymore, I don't believe.
So if you can maybe send me a private message, Len, on the forums, sure, and plenty of stuff.
Sorry, who's talking?
This is Jim.
Okay, Jim.
Yeah, find me on the forums, send me a private message with the areas, and that'll at least I can capture them specifically and start looking at them, put them on the backlog for sure.
And if they are areas of the documentation that are just weak or in ruin or whatever state you find them in, and they're in read the docs, which is our document repository, you can just make a pull request or say like, comment there. We see those comments, and even if it's like, hey, this is way out of date, it flags it for us. Not that that's the community's only job to do that. Jim's fairly on top of things with the documentation, but just wanted to let the people know that.
Len, yeah. Is there a particular UNP device that we could use as a benchmark?
Well, I tell you what we're playing with is the Cling workbench, the Cling toolkit. So if you use find Cling, C-L-I-N-G, then that's a great UPnP compliant representation. And also, if you guys need, we could send you something to work with as well. I could be more than happy to do that.
C-L-I-N-G.
Yeah, it's under fourth line, I believe. C-L-I-N-G. If
just put a link into chat, what I think it is.
Len, can you see that?
I'm sorry, say that again, please. Yeah, fourthline.org, right, that's it. Yeah. The workbench is something for the PC. If you go up one directory, there was that's where the full toolkit is.
Yeah, I can't speak to the specific amount of work that needs to get done on improving LAN support, but that is something that I'm driving internally, more specifically because I'm working with a lot of partners on integrating their devices. And we've seen, for instance, with the Hue, where the implementation right now is not as reliable as we would like. And we're looking to improve those. And a lot of those is less device type related and is just how we implement LAN. I know Todd wants HTTPS so that we can get TCP up back and running on the LAN. There's various improvements that I'm going to be pushing for. Yes, over the coming weeks, and hopefully I can get those in before the actual launch of our next generation hardware, because I don't want to delay that too far. It's somewhat overdue. So once again, I can't speak to what the improvements are, just because that's not my focus. But I am pushing for improvements on LAN.
Yeah, I would think also with more local processing capability, you're going to have more LAN connected requirements. So they dovetail very nicely, I think.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I'm pushing for some of these improvements. For instance, we all want TCP to be back on the LAN, especially when V2 comes out, and we're saying that you don't need to have internet connectivity. Well, if you have the cloud connected TCP, you're going to be dependent on it. And I know Todd has worked a lot with LAN connected devices, and he knows how scrambled it is when we're getting events back from these LAN devices.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a magic recipe somewhere, just trying to find it is a challenge.
Yeah, and I one of the things I hope for is that a lot of the stuff is backwards compatible. I don't want to make some of these changes only compatible with our next generation hardware.
Right.
It may end up being the case that some of the changes only can be implemented on our next hub, but I'm hoping not. At least the things that really matter aren't.
Yeah, you might, if there's any engineering folks on, there's a UPnP compliance suite that I'd suggest that they at least run against the current implementation, understand where you guys are at.
Len, I can speak to a little bit of that. It's funny because while you have the compliance specification, there's flavors and there's levels of implementation, and I've run up against those several times.
Yeah. Well,
what do you do? Do you stoop to the lowest denominator, or it's very difficult kind of trying to create a piece of middleware between somebody that's compliant in a certain way and another piece that's compliant in a variation of that. So it's an interesting topic, and that's why we really look forward to the IoT maturing and standards coming about to where, if you're going to implement, this is how you implement. And then if you don't implement exactly that, you have what's called a, what's the word I'm looking for? A kind of like a capability model that if another third-party software connects, it knows what the variation is and then can take action against that.
Yeah, I think the priority that we're going to start addressing some of these LAN improvements is going to be dependent on the devices that we want to bring onto our platform. So, like the Hue is an example. We definitely want to get those bulbs to be much more reliable, and there are going to be some specific changes that we'll need to make in order to support that. TCP is probably another example of that. These mass market, these really popular LAN devices that we really want to bring into our ecosystem are going to be the drivers for specific change, because we're not going to be able to go against the UPnP spec and do everything. There's going to be definitely a priority to what we implement and what we don't, or what we do first.
Makes sense. Yeah. So the UPnP.org, the organization group, offers a certification suite as well as a certification program, just FYI.
Got it. And if there's anything that you're running up against, Len, send those over to me. I'm not going to be able to directly answer your questions, but I'm very interested in seeing what you're running up against that may be applicable in other areas as well too.
Fantastic. Will do. And I'm sorry, who is that speaking?
Gilbert.
Okay.
Awesome. Josh was interested in particularly the endpoint smart apps and plans for that for Hub V2?
Sorry, I missed that. What was that? Sorry, I'm trying to catch up. My lights went off in my.
He actually wanted to revisit the topic of local smart apps on Hub V2. In particular, they wanted to see what our plans are for, the endpoint smart apps, including local authorization. It's one of those unanswered items that was in the previous call.
And to remain unanswered, probably. I don't know much about how how we're going to allow like certain if we're going to allow even like smart app developers to say this should be preferentially run locally versus not. I think that's probably not something that we will do. We'll default to running locally if there's not a stipulation of a web service or something else where it has to call out. I don't know specifically about the endpoint question that April's speaking of, though.
Yeah, I think I haven't heard of what the model is and what the framework it is that we're going to be applying towards smart app and device types running locally once you disconnect internet and probably subsequently disconnect power as well too. But it's definitely around what the capabilities are. If there is a cloud connected device, we're definitely not going to run those locally. That's pretty obvious. The smart apps is a little bit trickier because some of those definitely will require internet connectivity. Like for instance, the dashboard ones that you guys have created, those will necessarily need to be running the cloud. And I don't know if we could be just saying that it's offline and you don't have access to it, and throwing some type of standardized message back to the smart app. I'm not sure.
Eves has a question about device types running locally. I mean, they in so much as they run, they would have to. It's the smart apps that are the things that are running, and the device types that are, allowing the capabilities to be accessed on them. So yes.
Okay, thank you. Oh, I could answer this one. I think Jody was asking about the vision of SmartThings and the community building plans and developer evangelism. So part of the reason why we're going to hackathons is we are scouting for developers that can actually represent us. And also just groups yourselves, right? Like if you guys are interested in hosting and representing as SmartThings, we can send kits and stuff to actually assist you with that and encourage other people to develop for us. And I'm sure Ben can elaborate a little bit more.
Or Major, if he's still here.
Yeah, we're definitely building an ambassador program. So we have one in San Francisco, New York, and the Midwest. But we want to have, I think, maybe like 6 or 7 ambassadors by the middle of the year and maybe 10 by the end of the year. So we want people to go to events for us. If you see events in your community, let us know. If there's a conference that's not in your city, but it's nearby and you want to go, let us know, because we want people to represent us and go to events and hang out with us.
We're getting a lot of suggestions for places to go, so that's good. We are trying to vary it up. We've got a Louisville one that we're hopefully going to soon. We'll be down in Austin. Not quite a hackathon though, but South by Southwest. No, but that's good. Some of the things. Do they have internet service in Kentucky? Nice. So yeah, some of the other reasons why we're doing hackathons is just to spur creativity, find out how other people think about Internet of Things, see what crazy concepts they can come up with for SmartThings, and sort of extend the tail of use cases that we see. I think ultimately when we expose a marketplace of apps and things and devices that people have created to the greater consumer base, they're going to look to SmartThings as oh wow, like they have like this burgeoning community, they've got the most things connected to it, and there isn't, I can search for a bunch of different things as mundane as like checking my mailbox or knowing if my washer and dryer is done or whatever else it might be. They can see that those are already available from the community. So that's the reason why we're going to hackathons, and one of the reasons why we're shifting a little bit of focus off of students this year a little bit is that we want to really engage with people with a web developer background that can that want to get involved and do something professionally with SmartThings. Perhaps you already see people on the forums doing it in ways that are up and on the up and up and on the not so up and up. And so we're interested in really investing in that and making sure that when we do launch the marketplace finally, it can be populated and awesome. Since I brought it up, I might as well at least mention the fact that we are having discussions internally on how to deal with situations where someone might take the work of others and try to commercialize it. And we're very familiar with the threads, especially, and things like that. And so we want to make sure that even prior to the marketplace, we make a statement of what we believe to be the right way of doing things. And it's not probably what's happening in certain cases. So we don't have that statement yet, obviously, because I'm not very articulate about it. But we do know that that's not what our intent is. Our intent is not to have people collecting and reselling other people's work, and so we're gonna get in front of it.
I want to backstep just a little bit. You guys asked about Hub v2 and local processing. Hey, Gary. And local processing, I think, Ben, as an action item for us, SmartThings, it'd be great for us to sit down with the Hub v2 team and figure out what the timeline is of when we can kind of get a better idea of how we're going to be processing smart apps and device types locally, because these will have implications on what our folks from the community are going to be writing. And there are going to be possibly some device types that may need to be revisited in some cases. And I want to make sure that we get ahead of the game so that we don't do a Hub v2 launch and it deprecates all of, say, LAN connected devices or cloud connected devices. Yeah.
Todd is asking if we are on schedule for V2.
Depends on what schedule.
We're going to get dinged in the community no matter what. Some people consider April to be slipping, even though I don't really know that we officially said April before. Our stated goal at our last all hands, which was last week, is to have the beta testing of V2 begin with non-employees by the end of April. So you can take that as another slip.
Yeah, and I think for us folks internally, we want to make sure that this is really right. And as much as we want to get it out to you folks, there are some things that if we release too early that we can't retract, or although there are firmware pushes that we can push to these hubs, we don't want to slip in the very beginning or prematurely send it out without doing a proper beta test with us both internally, SmartThings employees, and then also to the community, pushing out a few hubs to a wider base for testing. There's going to be a lot of units made, and testing up front is going to be really essential.
I think that was it for most of the community questions that was posted on the forums. Do you guys have any questions that you guys have right now?
There's ask about documentation and NDA. Definitely. I think in terms of early beta access, that's going to require an NDA for sure. And the documentation portion, we're going to try to get those ready to you as quickly as possible, and that's irrespective of whether or not there's an NDA in place. That's still going to be a priority, at least. I think Ben and April, to get those out to you guys. I don't want to speak for them, but I think that is a priority, or one of those checklist items before we launch V2.
Yep. All right. Any parting shots or things?
Yeah, I have a question. Say we take a stock. How do we tell when a production smart app's been updated? I'm sure a lot of us have, taken devices and smart apps and stuff and hacked them up and maybe fixed them or modified them. But how do we find out when the production one was updated and or fixed?
That's a great question. And so, I think they do actually update themselves by and large. But yeah, notifying you of those changes is not something that we figured out a great way to do yet. Probably some form of push notification would be my bet, but I don't know when that is going to happen.
Mike, are you referring to device type smart apps that the community has written and they're waiting to see if it's out there, or ones that?
Well, the community ones you can see, right? Because the code's posted on GitHub and stuff. It's pretty easy to identify changes that have been made in those. I'm talking about that are native to the native devices and native smart apps, that you guys have published.
I think possibly that may be better for a, what do you call it? It's slipping my mind. The release notes.
Platform release notes?
Yeah. So when we do maybe a smart app release, we can put those into some centralized place.
We haven't, though. I mean, that's it's a good suggestion. But I mean, what about when there's 1,000? I guess don't figure out. We don't have to solve problems we don't have yet. But I think we need an elegant mechanism to let people know that, hey, we updated your smart app. Tap for more details on what changed or whatever.
I mean, do you guys actually do updates to those, or are they pretty much the same ones that got put in production when you started?
No, there's been a few updates. They're mostly brought about by changes to the platform that maybe just slightly change what the best practice is to do something. For example, I think there was some changes around apps that used sunset and sunrise information a few months back. But and we did communicate that somewhere. I just can't remember exactly how. And it definitely wasn't in app. So yeah. Right. We have to crawl before we walk, and we don't even have a mechanism in place for when you submit a smart app for publication, it gets published, and then you will go to update it. That's another submission request right now. It's not publishing on the same one, and so we have a bit ways to go. I think we'll get Bob to join the next call since he's back from vacation now, and talk all about some of those things that we're doing, but the long promised full GitHub integration is coming.
I have one other question, and I don't know, maybe I'm just the odd guy out, but how do you keep a debug session attached in the IDE for more than 2 minutes? Is there, some sort of cache setting or whatever? I mean, I constantly have to log out and log back in to reattach a debug session in devices and smart apps.
Matt, Nor, is that your experience? 'Cause, I'm never debugging that long to notice that. Sorry.
No, I haven't seen that. It should be much longer than that. There is a timeout, but it should be much longer than 2 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's, it doesn't, the debug session doesn't even attach after the first time I, go to, work with a device. It seems to be worse when I'm, picking a real device, but
Huh.
I just thought I thought everybody was experiencing the same problem, so I haven't said anything about it.
I'm getting some messages that other people are seeing the same thing. So, well, I wasn't aware of that, so I will bring it up and take a look at it. I'll
So make
talk to
sure
the
you're
right
not
people.
doing any other OAuth things at the same time as you're trying to use the IDE.
No,
I don't know
no.
if that ever got fixed, but that'll log you out.
That's not anything I'm doing in my case.
I will say that I've had to just do like a hard refresh every once in a while in the IDE, especially if I've uninstalled, installed. That seems to help clear up some stuff, but I've seen occasionally the same thing where it just doesn't seem to be displaying the debug information.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. And then actually I missed Gary's question, which was discussion on planned GitHub integration.
Yeah.
But what has, SmartThings have planned?
I was just mentioning that, and I think it's the idea is that once you submit something through and you submit changes, those changes are connected to the original submission. If you're changing someone else's, it would branch and show up like that in the IDE. So yeah, I think that the more full GitHub integration, I think will have a number of good things that happen to it. Right now, there's a very manual process, even for us as reviewers of things. So we want that desperately.
Ben, one of the things I had actually asked about specifically is, let's say I release a device type, I stick it on my GitHub account, and I give people the link to the GitHub account. It would be really nice if the people who want to use that device type could just copy that link into the IDE, and it auto updates and everything else. So when I put out a fix for a bug or something on that GitHub, I commit it to that branch, they get it automatically.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think that could be cool. Similar to how if you paste a GitHub link into the forum, it'll like bring in the code for you to look at. So yeah, that could be something that we look at. I mean, I think also it could go the other way. Once people are less inclined to share apps in GitHub and they can have a generative link that is made from the IDE site, for example, that just like populates for them too. But yeah, that's a good idea. We'll collect that idea and see how we can make it easy to share like that.
Thank you.
Did April, you mentioned that Jody had a question about devices in labs? Hear that? Did I see that right? No. All right.
Trying to find it.
Hey, Jody, is he still here?
Oh.
Just asking about clarification that the device types that are currently in labs are not really ready for production.
Well, labs, depending on who you ask, you get a different definition of what labs is meant to be. I think, and if Gilbert's still on, he can talk to this too a little bit, but I think we might be sunsetting that term labs in favor of beta programs that are less widespread. But the idea is that if it is in labs, maybe not everyone gets that, but maybe people who are just okay with a little bit of like roughness do that. The hard part is I think even some of the labs things that are in there now have regressed, and so they definitely earn their moniker of labs right now. But yeah, we're gonna make it more apparent in the in the interface if we end up letting anything through like this, that it should be taken with a little bit more caution. So that's what I can say about that, I guess.
Yeah, and in some of those labs, I'm not sure if you guys have seen, but at CES we partnered up with a lot of companies, and some of those companies are our labs company, and we're trying to pull out as many devices out of labs as possible. I definitely don't want them lingering for a few more months even. It's one of those things that is on the top of my list.
All right.
One last question.
Sure.
Is there a person or is there some avenue that we could take to request an IFTT recipe?
I was always of the impression that you could just make them, but it's a good question because I think I might have even turned to April last week and asked her if she could start inventorying all the IFT recipes that like Wemo has, and then just like recreate them all with SmartThings, even if they're like redundant to functions that you can just do in the app natively, just for like, I don't know, visibility and whatnot. But
like for instance, would just be an hourly temperature logging to a spreadsheet, an open Google Doc or something like that.
Yeah. What stops you from making that?
I don't know the process, so I was just.
No. I think anyone can make a new recipe.
Yeah, I think the question is what do we allow IFT to have access to?
Correct.
And I don't know whether or not sensor status is one of those things that is being exported back out to IFT. I think right now it's on-off controls on switches.
Right.
Presence, I think.
Yeah.
Open close sensors for sure. But mode changes are probably one of the main things that people request, and that is not a part of it right now. And that does require some work from both IFT and us, probably.
And that's exactly my question, Ben. I think we've got there now. So, is there a path for people in the community or developers to say, "Hey, this is something we'd like to see," and what is that path?
Well, I mean, you can certainly request it from both our organizations. I think it's still going to require, us and IFT to get together and just say, hey, here's our next batch of feature requests that we'd like to bang out. How can we make this happen? So, right now that does have to happen on the back end, I guess.
I see. Thank you.
You can build more virtual device types.
It is
Thank you. It was good to have all your questions beforehand. So thanks for sending those in. And during.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye, guys.
See you, April. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Todd just wants a Hub V2 early.
Well, I'm actually not in charge of passing Hub V2s, unfortunately.
You know what I really want? I liked your T-shirt designs. Those were awesome.
Mine? Really?
Yes. I like the one with the swirly SmartThings colors. Did you do that one?
Yeah.
That was
Man,
perfect.
you're flattering me left and right.
You got a little bit of smudge on your nose right there.
Yeah. Wait. Okay.
No, thank you so much. I mean, we're going to be making some list T-shirts, and the submissions that people have submitted were just so awesome. I actually wanted to print most of them, so hopefully we can do some more contests and stuff like that too. So it'll be fun.
Yeah, great. See y'all. Have a good day.
Yeah, have a nice night.
Yeah.